We've just finished knitting the pink section for 55 rows. This row is a 2-stitch knit and purl crossing. Next, we'll replace the blue yarn on this side with green yarn, and add purple yarn at the far right. The specific colors to use should follow the chart, according to the color numbers provided in the chart. Now we'll knit this leaf, mindful that this leaf is a 3D leaf, so it can't be fully illustrated in a flat diagram. When knitting the leaf, follow the pattern exactly as shown. The first few rows shape the leaf stem into a bent form. Let's start with the first row of the leaf square. First, take out the color you need to knit. Then carry it under. Carry it under the fabric piece, specifically under the stitch that needs to be held. Then, knit 1 purl stitch upwards. After the purl stitch, knit 1 knit stitch. The leaf is close to this section, then there's a purl stitch space that slants all the way to the left, and the rest are all purl stitches. After finishing 13 stitches, pay attention, this part 1 made with a pop-out single rib of knit and purl stitches. Actually, if you feel this part isn't necessary, you can just continue straight into the adjacent piece. Or you can switch directly to the color number of this pattern and keep knitting, but I think slightly protruding it gives an irregular look, which feels cuter, so I added a single rib here, plus a few rows of garter stitch on top. It's intentionally adding some contrasting elements. If you don't like how it looks, you can extend the pattern from this side downward. I'm still following the chart, 1 knit stitch, 1 purl stitch, 1 knit stitch, 1 knit stitch, 1 knit stitch, 1 purl stitch. We've finished the green leaf pattern square, now let's move on to the winding stream pattern at the very edge. Take out the color you need and place it behind this yarn. Then hook it out from the front. First, we see it's 5 purl stitches. So knit 5 purl stitches, then 1 twisted stitch. Then 4 more purl stitches. Always knit the edge stitch as a knit stitch, remember, black areas mean there are no stitches there. With that, we've completed row 55. Now begin row 56. Row 56 is simple, just knit whatever stitch you come to. Simple, on row 56, just knit whatever stitch you come to. Then, when you turn, you'll drop the outermost blue yarn. There's a K2 tog here, you need to decrease it. Next, continue to row 57. To decrease, first pick up, then knit 1 knit stitch, and pass the previous stitch over. This yarn ends here, we won't use it anymore from now on. Coming into this row, we have the pink section, still, knit whatever stitch you come to. In the green section, we'll do a crossing for the leaf stem. On this side, we'll do the stream crossing. We've already knitted many crossing stitches before, so everyone should know how to do it by now. Let's quickly finish it up. Now let's knit this crossing stitch. First, place the back loop onto the right needle, then place the front knit stitch loop onto the left needle, and slip it back over. Then knit 1 purl stitch followed by 1 knit stitch. That completes 1 repeat. This is a right side upward crossing knit stitch. After this, just continue knitting down, following whatever stitches come. Actually, following the pattern is very simple, just look at the chart. Whatever motif the chart shows, you knit exactly that, especially since the charts I provided already show exactly how each stitch is arranged, just follow the chart as it is. Next, we'll knit the part next to this purple section. The trickier part here is the twisted stitch left side upward crossing. This is a twisted stitch crossing. We've actually already knitted this stitch earlier when making the small leaves, so it's quite simple. First, knit 4 purl stitches. Then comes the twisted stitch crossing. First, slip the twisted stitch off. Then swap the position of the back needle, exchanging the 2 stitches. First knit the twisted stitch. Then knit the purl stitch behind it. We see that after 3 stitches at the edge, we do a K2 tog decrease. So here, after knitting 3 stitches, we'll do 1 K2 tog. For the adjacent K2 tog, simply insert the hook in the knitwise direction. Another decrease is now complete. The next decrease will be several rows later. Let's continue knitting. The next row is row 58, which is also very simple, just knit each stitch as it appears. At the same time, pay attention to the pink yarn on the right side. You no longer need the blue yarn tail, just pick up the pink yarn and knit across with it. On this row, again, just knit each stitch as it comes, no further explanation needed. Pay attention to the edge here. On the right side it looks like 2 knit stitches, and on the wrong side you'll purl 2 stitches. Then wrap around and continue to the next row. The next row is row 59. For the pink part, just knit each stitch as it comes. For the green part, still make a crossing stitch, and for the blue part, also make 1 crossing stitch. Then the following row, row 60, is again, knit each stitch as it appears, so I won't demonstrate these 2 rows, and will continue demonstrating again at row 61. After finishing row 60, we'll decrease 1 more stitch at row 61. But this stitch is at the edge, so if you decrease there, the edge might look messy later. Therefore, I moved the crossing stitch inside, closer to the edge stitch. You can do this crossing stitch on this row or the next. I personally prefer to move it up to the next row. You can watch my steps. First 1 knit stitch, then the crossing stitch. Move the back stitch to the right needle, then transfer the front stitch to the left needle, swap their positions, then purl 1, knit 1. By doing this, I'm shifting the honeycomb pattern slightly inward, making it easier for the following decrease. Then we'll continue knitting through the rest. From now on, just knit each stitch as it comes. Pay attention, here at green and purple, switch colors. The part with single rib is finished and should be cut off. Now let's keep knitting downward. On the green section, it still crosses diagonally upward to the left. First, pick up the back stitch onto the right needle, then the front knit stitch onto the left needle, cross the right needle over the left. Cross them once, switching left and right positions. For the rest, keep purling all stitches. Knit to before the knit stitch. These next 6 stitches will be changed to purple. Here, it's better to cut the yarn, because 6 stitches is a bit far, unlike earlier where only 2 stitches were involved, which was close enough not to require a change. 6 stitches is still quite a distance, so we need to cut the purple yarn here. Again, remember not to leave the yarn tail too long, it can interfere with your knitting. Tuck the yarn end to the back. First, knit 4 purl stitches, then 1 twisted stitch. Then cross the twisted stitch with the purl stitch. Move the twisted stitch onto the right needle first, then use your hand to place the purl stitch from the left needle back onto the left needle, return that stitch, knit 1 twisted stitch, then 1 purl stitch. That completes the crossed stitch. Then continue knitting the rest. For the last edge stitch, remember to knit it in knit purl pattern on the right side. This is what it looks like. The yarn tails at the back will all be woven in later, so you can ignore them for now. Row 61 serves as a setup row, and now it's completed. After finishing this row, it should look like this. At this point, only one more decrease remains to complete the armhole shaping. From here on it's simple, just continue to row 62. On row 62, just knit as the stitches appear, work quickly, following the existing pattern. Since there are only 3 colors involved, it goes fast. Knit as the stitches appear. Next is row 63. On row 63, we'll do a decrease. Next to it is the honeycomb inward shrinking crossing stitch. We need to continue making the crossed stitch, specifically a 2-stitch cross. Then here is another crossed stitch. Starting from this side, both sides are twisted, so it changes from 1 ripple to 2 ripples, and continues twisting upwards, crossing over, then knitting up. It's still simple. Let's start with the decrease. First slip 1 knitwise, knit 1, then pass the slipped stitch over, that completes 1 decrease. Next comes the crossed stitch, still swap the position of these 2 stitches. Knit the purl stitch first, then the knit stitch. The middle has 5 stitches, while in other places the middle has 6. Because I decreased 1 stitch earlier on this side, now it only has 5. Here, still knit the knit stitch first, then the purl stitch. Then we work the cross on this side. First pick up the back purl stitch onto the right needle, move the knit stitch back to the left needle, put it in place, then knit a purl stitch followed by a knit stitch. Then 6 purl stitches. Continue picking up here. Knit 1 purl stitch downwards here. At the leaf, perform the final crossing for the leaf stem. Still exchange the position. Knit the purl stitch first, then the knit stitch. Then switch to this purple strand, carry it along. First knit 3 purl stitches. Then comes the twisted stitch and its crossed stitch. First move the twisted stitch onto the right needle, take the purl stitch from the left needle, pick it up onto the left needle. Then place the twisted stitch back on top of the left needle. Knit a twisted stitch. Knit a purl stitch. Then knit 2 more purl stitches. Pay attention, these 2 bent lines are separated by 3 stitches in the middle. The gap is 3 purl stitches, knit them off. Pay attention to the far right side, where there's also a K2 tog. For this K2 tog, simply work a regular knitwise K2 tog. Up to this point, the armhole decreases are completed. After this, just continue following the pattern. Only the leaf part is slightly tricky, everything else is simple. The next row of the leaf pattern still follows, knit what you see. Starting from the next row, we'll begin knitting the leaf according to this chart. There will be an increase in the middle, and eyelet increases on both sides of the leaf. Now start the first increase row for the leaf. We're now working the first increase row of the leaf. Remember, since there are increases here, and I didn't mark the no stitch areas on the chart, just follow along as shown. Increase on both sides. Don't wrap the yarn down, leave it over the needle, then knit 1 stitch. This creates an eyelet increase, then wrap the yarn up again. Wrap it up once more. If I were to purl directly now, there would be no increase, because a purl stitch naturally requires the yarn to be in front, so at this point, I need to wrap it around once more downward. That is, after bringing it up, wrap it around again. Then continue knitting the remaining knit stitches. Now take a look. 2 stitches have been increased, 1 on each side of the leaf motif. Remember, if the next stitch is a purl, you must wrap twice. Continue and finish this part. Now we're going to start making the little baubles. Follow the chart to knit them. Pay attention, no more crossing at the twisted stitch, just one twisted stitch. Then work the bauble after skipping 3 stitches. The method for making baubles has already been explained before, so we won't repeat it here. Knit the last stitch as a knit stitch. Now row 65 is complete. Next, proceed to row 66. For row 66, follow the chart, knit each stitch as it appears. But pay attention to the leaf section, at the spot where I did the eyelet increase earlier, on the right side, knit all stitches as knit stitches, which means on the wrong side, purl all of them. The patterns on both sides for the following rows have already been demonstrated, so we won't go over them again. We'll now focus on explaining how to knit the leaf pattern. For row 67, here's an important point. This pattern involves both increases and decreases, and I want the entire leaf to slant to the left. Therefore, the way I increase and decrease will be slightly different from the traditional method of knitting leaves that grow straight upward. Let's count together how many stitches we've increased here. Horizontally, 2 stitches are added every 2 rows, and this is done 6 times, so in total, 12 stitches are increased. Now let's look at the decreasing section. Each K2 tog counts as 1 decrease. There are 11 stitches here, meaning 1 stitch has been decreased. So at the top of the leaf, there's also a K2 tog decrease. This completes the decreasing section. Now we'll begin working row 67. Pay attention, when knitting this piece, especially the leaf pattern, you need to follow the chart for every row, and knit exactly as shown in the chart. Since this chart covers the entire garment, not just a section, you can completely follow it row by row for knitting. Let's start row 67. First, knit the edge purl stitch as usual, then do a yarn over increase, and for this next knit stitch position, simply knit it as a knit stitch. Next is another yarn over increase, just carry the yarn forward. Then knit 1 stitch, since the following stitch is a knit, not a purl, I'll yarn over again to make a knit increase. After increasing, note this, here comes a K2 tog, so I need to knit these 2 stitches together as one. This makes the edge of the leaf slant to the left. Now let's review how the increases are made at this point. A normal stitch looks like this. We need to pick it up. Normally the stitch has the right leg in front, left leg at back. We need to reverse that. So the left leg should be in front, right leg at back. Then knit a K2 tog through both legs of the loops. This completes a decrease slanting to the right. Continue knitting the following stitches as they appear. This makes our leaf slant to the left. Next, we'll knit the purple section. The purple part is still a twisted 2-stitch cable leaning to the left. Now comes row 68, just knit each stitch as it appears. Same with the leaves, just knit each stitch as it appears. I'll demonstrate the back side of the leaf. Pay attention, this is where we did the K2 tog earlier. All the leaf area should be worked in purl stitches. So it shows as knit stitches on the front side. Continue knitting to the end. For the following rows, just knit as they appear, I won't demonstrate anymore. Now row 69, for the pink section, still knit each stitch as it appears. For the leaf pattern, yarn over on both sides of the center stem to increase, and at the far left of the leaf, do a K2 tog slanting right. Just continue knitting it through. Here I'll demonstrate again the increase placement in the middle of the leaf. We've reached the green increase row. Let's take a look. Where there's a purl stitch in front, just work it as a purl. Knit the knit stitches, 2 knit stitches, then a yarn over for an open work increase, then 1 knit stitch, and another yarn over. After the yarn over, knit 1 stitch, then do a K2 tog, first switch the direction of the 2 stitches, then knit them together. That's correct. Then continue to finish the row. Now you can see the whole leaf is slanting to the left, just like the larger leaf motif below. Next is the stream section. Since it's the same as the previous row, no demonstration here. Now we'll demonstrate row 75. In the pink section, continue with the crossing stitch pattern. The leaf starts decreasing here with a K2 tog, and also does a K2 tog on this side, meaning we decrease on this side and create a slant, so the whole leaf leans toward this side. Continue crocheting. When we get to the green part, pay attention to the leaf area on both sides. You can see we need to decrease on both left and right sides. On the left side, the decrease method is to slip one stitch, knit one, then pass the slipped stitch over. That completes one decrease stitch. Do the same for the following stitches, and in the middle, still do an open work increase with 2 stitches. For decreases here, you can use this method, or simply slip the stitch normally first, knit one, then pass the slipped stitch over. In fact, as you can see, the final effect is the same. Then finish knitting the remaining stitches. When we reach the purple part, we start making bobble stitches again. Everything else is the same as before, so no further demonstration needed. Row 80 is complete. Now begin row 81. There's one decrease stitch here in front, and here we have a crossing stitch. The leaf is already starting to shrink. From this row on, we'll add 2 new colors, this color and a pink one. This color matches the one in the lower right corner, plus we still have green and purple, so these rows now use 4 colors at the same time. I've already cut the yarn here, this color section is finished, so I cut the yarn and bring in the new color. The color used here is shade 56, Pure Dew, the other version uses red. We'll still knit it in from this side, no, not needed. The first stitch is always a knit stitch. You can tie a small knot here to tighten it slightly, so it won't come loose later as we continue knitting. We continue knitting onward, it's like a beginning row. 8 purl stitches. Then at the middle position, work 2 twisted stitches. After finishing the twisted stitches, I'll use pink to knit the crossing pattern in the center. Each stitch technique of the crossing pattern has been explained before, but we'll still go through the pattern once again. This part is 10 stitches. Just finish these 2 knit stitches, then pause here, and bring in the new color to knit the central crossing pattern. First, let's do the starting row. First, 2 purl stitches. Then 4 knit stitches, followed by 2 purl stitches. Here comes 2 knit stitches, 2 knit stitches. Then 2 purl stitches. 4 knit stitches, 2 purl stitches. Over here, 2 knit stitches, then 1 purl stitch. Now it's time to bring in the green yarn, and start knitting the garter stitch pattern. You can either carry the green yarn along or cut it, it's up to you. Since there are only 3 stitches, you can also choose not to cut the yarn. Then knit all stitches as knit stitches. Remember to tension the carried yarn properly. Make sure to cross it over this strand. Knit all as knit stitches. After finishing the knit row, there will be exactly 1 stitch distance before reaching the leaf. Then we begin knitting the leaf. For the leaf, we turn back here. Let's look at the pattern. First, 1 purl stitch, there's a purl stitch in the middle, then a K2 tog, meaning slip 2 stitches knitwise, 1 by 1, then place them back on the left needle. 1 K2 tog, then knit the remaining stitches. When you reach the last 2 stitches, make a crossing. Mindful that the leaf's outline should stay on top. Knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch, make a crossed stitch, then knit the last remaining purl stitch. This leaf starts narrowing upwards from here. For the rest, just knit the purple section as before, and on the next row, knit each stitch as it appears. Row 83 is slightly tricky because there's a 3-stitch twisted stitch crossing here, which is a bit more challenging. That dot represents a twisted stitch. The final chart is correct. Here, we need to change it to a twisted stitch. Now we're at row 83. Note that in the chart, the twisted stitch crossing shows as a dot, meaning it should be a purl stitch. But in actual knitting, we need to knit it as a twisted stitch. First, edge stitches are knit as knit stitches, the blank squares in the middle are purl stitches. When you reach 2 purl stitches before the twisted stitch, stop knitting and bring the yarn to the back. Because we need to knit the twisted stitch first, slip the twisted stitch onto the right needle, then drop the 2 purl stitches behind it, take them off, and place them back onto the left needle. This completes the crossing of the 2 purl stitches, from the back with the twisted stitch on top. Then knit the twisted stitch first. So now the twisted crossed stitch is done. Next knit the middle stitch as a purl stitch. Since this is an empty square, the next one below is also a purl stitch. Remember, the middle stem part is always a twisted stitch. The purl stitch from the side replaces the position of the middle stem. It should be knitted as a twisted stitch, and the gap in the middle is always knitted as a purl stitch. You can actually see that all stem areas are twisted stitches, while the middle gaps are knitted as purl stitches. So whether it's a 3-stitch crossed stitch, or a 2-stitch crossed stitch, as long as it's on the stem, just knit it as a twisted stitch. Next, here we also have a 3-stitch crossed stitch. First pick up the 2 back stitches, from behind using the right needle. Place them onto the right needle, then use the left needle to thread through the front twisted stitch, and put those 2 stitches back onto the left needle. The stitch that becomes part of the stem should be knitted as a twisted stitch. The stitch in the middle is knitted as a purl stitch. The edge forms an extending branch, so knit it as a twisted stitch. So now we've completed 2 3-stitch twisted crossed stitches. Knit the remaining stitches as purl. Now move on to the center crossing pattern. Note that it includes a 4-stitch cross and a 2-stitch cross. Unlike the previous crosses which had purl and knit combinations, all these crossed stitches here are simply knitted as knit stitches. So it's simple. Start with 2 purl stitches. When knitting, make sure not to use a yarn tail here. You must take the working yarn directly from the yarn ball, otherwise you'll end up knitting with a yarn tail like I just did. Knit 2 purl stitches first, then for the crossed stitch, pay attention to the crossing position. It's the 2 right stitches on top because it goes upwards. Since the 2 right stitches go upwards, pick up the 2 back stitches from behind, and place them onto the right needle. Then use the left needle to pick up the 2 front stitches. After that, transfer the stitches back to the left needle. This way you won't need a cable needle. But if you're unsure, you can still use a cable needle. As for the Morandi number 8 yarn, it's spun from woolen spun wool, so it doesn't come undone as easily as worsted wool, lace yarns, or cotton yarns. That's why I usually knit wool yarn this way. Let's look at the chart. The chart still shows the right side knit stitches on top. So we still need to swap the position of these 2 stitches. Remember, bring the right stitch to the front first. After that, everything else remains the same. Swap the position, pick up the 2 back stitches first, then place the 2 front stitches onto the left needle. Exchange the position. On this side, the stitches on the right are still on top. Up to this point, we'll start knitting the row with leaves again. Now look at this leaf. Everything before it is knit stitches. Make a crossing direction. Do a K2 tog. This will make the entire leaf slant in this direction. Then knit the rest to finish. When you're knitting this leaf, note that 12 stitches are increased in total, and for the K2 togs on both sides, just make sure they still keep it to 12 stitches. As for where exactly you decrease, you can adjust according to your preference. When I was knitting, I actually kept changing as I went along. So each leaf I knitted turned out a bit different. Now let's continue with the last part here. This crossing stitch still twists to the right, so the left twisted stitch needs to move to the right. This is the wrong side row, row 84, we won't demonstrate this row, just knit whatever stitch comes next. Next we'll do row 85. Row 85 has the same crossing as the previous row, but after crossing, you'll purl 2 stitches instead. Let's demonstrate. Knit to 2 stitches before the twisted stitch, so knit 5 stitches first, then slip the twisted stitch to the front, change its position, and swap it with the next 2 stitches behind. Then knit 1 twisted stitch, and purl the remaining 2 stitches since they're no longer in the stem position. After that comes 1 purl stitch and 1 knit stitch. One twisted stitch, 1 purl stitch. Then pick up the loops of the 2 stitches from the back, drop the loop of the front twisted stitch, and place that dropped loop onto the left needle. Continue putting it back, it's still this kind of twisted stitch. The 2 inner stitches are no longer in the stem area, so they should be purled. Let's look at the pattern. The center always stays as a twisted stitch, the sides are also twisted stitches, and the gap in between always remains as purl stitches. We've finished here, now continue knitting with this color until the end. Pay attention, switch colors here. One purl stitch. Now let's check the pattern. The center here is a purl stitch. The center of this motif is a purl stitch, then another purl stitch, followed by a small dot, that's a 3-stitch cross, and the 2 stitches crossing outward are knit stitches, while the one pulled inward is purled. First, pick up the 2 inner knit stitches, and place them on the right needle. Then, take the dropped purl stitch from behind, and place it onto the left needle. Now, put these 2 purl stitches back. This completes a 3-stitch crossing. We moved the 2 knit stitches from inside to outside, then brought the outer purl stitch to the inside. Next, knit these 3 stitches, knit, knit, purl. That's the completion. Now for this side, it goes in the opposite direction. Start by picking up the outermost purl stitch from the back. Then, move the 2 front knit stitches to the left needle. Purl 1 stitch, knit 2 stitches. Pay attention, this is also a twisted stitch, but the pattern is different from before. This side forms a wavy, upward twisting cable, but pay attention, it always keeps the knit stitch from this side on top, with the original right side knit stitch staying on top as it moves forward. It creates a raised, embossed effect. Not twisted back and forth like a traditional cable, remember that. Continue knitting this pattern, 1 purl stitch, then a 3-stitch crossing. Then another purl stitch here. You can see it forms a crossed look. 2 purl stitches in the middle, 4 knit stitches on both sides. Move down 1 stitch. Remember, always keep the knit stitch on top. One purl stitch. Continue knitting the leaf. This row is still garter stitch. When you meet a purl stitch, knit it. Here comes a crossing, so cross these 2 stitches. Here's a K2 tog. This leaf will slant slightly to this side. The rest are all purl stitches. That's how it looks. Now we move to the stream section. We'll knit baubles on this row. When making baubles, don't swap the position of the twisted stitch. Knit a bauble here. On the next row, you still knit as you see, the part that pops out is worked in garter stitch, so no need to go into detail again. Row 87 needs some explanation. Now we begin knitting row 87. The only tricky stitch on row 87 is this twisted stitch crossing. This is the only stitch we haven't done before, so let's demonstrate it. Continue as usual at the beginning, knit as you see. Then stop just before these two twisted stitches, and first work a 3-stitch crossing. Then a twisted stitch, plus 2 purl stitches, mindful to change the position of these purl stitches. Then another 2 purl stitches, followed by this twisted stitch crossing. Pay attention, the stitch going into the crossing is marked as a twisted stitch, so I knit it as a twisted stitch. As I mentioned before, all stitches in the middle inner trunk area should be worked as twisted stitches. After completing this crossing, the next stitch should be worked as a twisted stitch. Just like that. So sometimes when knitting this kind of errand pattern, you need to first understand what each motif means and the design the pattern intends to show. Once you clearly understand it, then when you knit, you won't make mistakes. Continue and knit the rest on this side. The remaining 4 purl stitches. On the pink part, there's nothing particularly difficult on this row. Here's a 4-stitch crossing, just knit as you see. After crossing here, 2 stitches are on top. Remember the knit stitch should always stay on top. Then we continue and finish knitting it. The back side is still garter stitch, knit every row, no matter right or wrong side. Next is this leaf, which we need to close off. Since all the previous decreases add up to 11 stitches decreased, we now do one final decrease at the end to finish off this leaf. Once done, we won't knit this leaf anymore. From now on, just purl all stitches in this leaf position. This leaf is finished. Then comes the purple part. The purple part still has twisted stitch crossings. Very simple, twisted stitches and purl crossings are easy. On the next row, just knit as you see. Then on the following row, pay attention, small bobbles need to be made on the trunk area. Since they're all quite simple, we won't go into detail. Looking at the chart, the branch pattern now begins with 2 fruits. After finishing this part, it looks like this. Here, only the lower part is twisted, while the upper part remains untwisted. Then we need to knit the fruit on top of the twisted stitch. The right side crossing stitch is a technique we've already knitted, so no further explanation needed. Here, pay attention. The color of this pattern adds an extra group of crossing motifs right above the green area. Also, to the left of this leaf, another group of twisted stitches and knit purl crossings has been added. Now let's knit this row. We've already finished the orange section, and now need to start the green. Here we'll cover 8 stitches in the green area. Continue knitting forward. Note, don't carry the green yarn along anymore, leave it at the back. Then keep knitting down, the first stitch is a purl, followed by 4 knit stitches. Three purl stitches. The middle orange section is now finished. Below, we'll knit the purple part. Pay attention here, you must cut the yarn. Since there are too many interval stitches in between, if you carry it like in Latvian braids, the effect won't be good, it'll become loose. Then bring up the yarn, we're starting with 5 purl stitches. Blank squares all mean purl, remember to pull tight as you go and tie a knot. Next is 1 twisted stitch, knit twice. Twisted stitch. Twisted stitch. Knit stitch. Twisted stitch. Then 2 purl stitches. For the rest, just follow the chart, knit whatever stitch is shown. Whenever you see a stitch on the chart, just knit that one. I'll still demonstrate finishing this entire row. After completing this side, for the following rows, I'll give only a simple explanation. From here on, just keep knitting according to this pattern chart. Then pay attention, when we reach row 111. There's a small issue, the part marked for purl bind off actually needs to be put on hold. We'll skip it, turn the work, and then knit those purl bind off stitches on row 112 before shaping the neckline. The stitch here is a German short row, we'll explain more when we encounter it later.